everyone, it's Sevy. In my previous video, I gave my impressions of Thoma's performance at C0. If you haven't seen that yet, I recommend you check that out first. But continuing my review of our new favorite housekeeper, I think it's a good time to activate Thoma's constellations and see how they improve his utility as a shielder. In this video, we'll go through what his constellations do exactly, one by one, and I'll give my overall review, impression, and rating of each constellation and how necessary they are and how they add to his kit. If you're committed to building Thoma for long-term use, then his constellations are the goal. But is there a point where you should stop? Do these make him broken? I'll try my best to answer such questions and more. Hopefully, by the end of this video, you'll have a better idea of Thoma's kit with his constellations. Without further ado, let's begin. Let's start with C1. What this basically does is reduce Thoma's cooldowns by 3 seconds for both his skill and burst when your active character, as long as it's not Thoma, is attacked. Effectively speaking, his skill would now have a 12-second cooldown versus 15 seconds, and his burst would have a 17-second cooldown versus 20 seconds. This accomplishes two things. First, his shield will have much better uptime. At C0, the ideal rotation for him that I found is to use his skill, wait for a few seconds, then use his burst. Once the burst duration is almost at an end, use the skill again to refresh the blazing barrier duration. But now, since the skill cooldown is just 12 seconds, but the burst duration is still 15 seconds, you can afford to wait less after using his skill and just activate the burst very shortly after. Then, if you were able to battery Thoma's burst, you can reactivate it again due to its now reduced 17-second cooldown, just potentially 2 seconds without his burst on. And second, you can regenerate his energy faster. A faster skill cooldown means you can get those sweet energy particles sooner, so in a way, his C1 indirectly helps solve some of his energy issues if you were having any in the first place. This is the ultimate quality of life upgrade for Thoma's shielding and is almost a must for anyone who wants to build him. With C2, we get another buff for his shield's quality of life. This basically increases his burst duration by 3 seconds, bringing it to a total of 18 seconds, and that brings you much closer to being able to achieve 100% uptime on his burst. Now, his burst duration is 18 seconds, and again, because of C1, its cooldown is 17 seconds. Let me emphasize that the duration is now longer than the cooldown. So in theory, if you battery him well enough, your burst will have near or full 100% uptime. Those 3 seconds will allow you more time to stack his blazing barrier, thus fortifying his shield, which guarantees a bit more protection and makes it more forgiving if you break the shield in between the burst duration. Plus, those are 3 additional procs of Pyro Cones, which adds a tiny bit of damage to his burst. Not much, but it's something. It's a simple effect, but it's yet another quality of life upgrade that stacks very well with his C1. Thoma C3 levels up his skill, which increases his skill damage and makes his blazing barrier shield 3 talent levels stronger. Since he does kind of peanuts for damage anyway, I'm overlooking the damage increase. What I appreciate though is that his skill's shield now has a higher level of protection right from the start, and you can get a higher ceiling for the max damage absorption also. Pretty much a good constellation as well. Alright, C4 is yet again very good, and like C1 and C2, it brings you much closer to a 100% shield uptime by refunding 15 energy after using his burst. In a way, it practically makes your burst cost 65 energy instead of 80. However, don't forget that his burst still technically costs 80. The worst enemy here would be if you have enemies that drain your energy. But now, it's perfect for DPS Thoma to use Shimenawa on since you get 15 energy refunded from the burst, which is the exact cost of Shimenawa's effect, and I'm kidding, please don't do that. Overall, it's another bump to his support utility. At this point, I really like that his constellations are very focused on enhancing what Thoma is best at. If you've reached C4, then you've overcome the biggest challenges a C0 Thoma would have, which are energy recharging issues and reliable shield uptime. C5 increases the talent levels of his burst, which means a little bit more initial damage and fiery collapse damage, but more importantly, his restacking of Blazing Barrier is also stronger. C6 adds yet another support utility, this time in the damage department. This basically increases all of your party's normal, charged, and plunging attack damage by 15%. It's perfect for comps with Chile, Yoimiya, or Hu Tao, making Thoma an all the more attractive pairing for your carries. At C6, his shield is now at its full potential, and he gets a new damage support utility. Thoma has become the ultimate house husband that you do not want to fuck around with. Or, maybe. So what do I think of his constellations? They're actually great. I love how they are focused on strengthening what his main purpose is, which is protection. He is fundamentally the same unit even after C6, just a much better version. C1, C2, and C4 are all useful, very useful quality of life upgrades, and they address the most nagging problems of his C0. Do you need them to be able to feel like you can use Thoma? Absolutely not. I've been playing with him at C0 and I've still found him to be quite reliable. As I explained in my C0 review video, he just has potential energy issues and downtime issues at C0, though those were something I was able to work around with. But if you want to commit to building Thoma in the long term, these constellations are undeniably helpful. At the very least, C1 already provides a noticeable improvement to his rotation and utility, and that's already a decent stopping point. At the C4 point, he feels so much better to use. My rotations feel more cohesive and any instances while using him at C0, and I felt like I needed his cooldown to end already or his shield to last longer, have been almost mitigated. C6 turns him into a damage buffer as well, which just becomes the icing on top of the cake. To simply conclude, all his constellations are very useful and give a nice sense of progression to make him become the best Thoma. So everyone, those are Thoma's constellations examined one by one. Thankfully, they're pretty straightforward and don't involve overly complicated mechanics. Hopefully, this video helped you understand his constellations and maybe give you an idea of what to aim for if you're really trying to get extra copies of Thoma. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to leave a like and consider subscribing if you haven't already. You can also turn on that notification bell button for future Genshin Impact content, and I will see you soon. Take care!